I have, I wouldn't say vast, but I think significant experience in the port sector in relation to environmental management, health and safety management, and also security management. My experience is from the Cyprus ports. I have worked in the government for some time. I have worked in the private sector, and now we are consulting. And what we are presenting today is closely related to security threats, but physical security threats and how they can be managed with digital solutions. And why I'm presenting this as a consultant, because personally, throughout my career, I was always drawn to automation, digitization, and generally wanting to streamline the management of information in the sphere of health, safety, security, and environment. And this is essentially has become kind of my niche. Everywhere I could see a digitization that could be done, then I would try and implement it in a cost-effective way, even in a very small way, to try to streamline the process. And to be honest, in the end, provide less of a workload for myself. The less workload I would have for myself, and this means that I could focus on more important things and prioritize planning and development. So my topic is managing security threats with digital solutions. And I will not be presenting most of the things you will see at most locations, like cameras, for example. But let's take a step back and say why this is important for a port. First of all, ports are critical hubs. We all know this, especially in Cyprus, where the main commercial port for commodities is one port, essentially, the Limassol port. The other ports are more industrial, but each port plays its own role. So we do not really have the what's the word in English? The luxury to have any mishaps in any of our ports. Apart from this, we have increasing requirements and increasing number of people accessing these facilities because we are expanding as a country, not geographically, obviously, but economically. We're bringing more people in, more cargo. And from my time at the port, I could see that this was evident from the amount of cargo coming in. We could always tell how many skyscrapers were being built during a specific period of time due to the number of glass panels being imported. And we could see it was a critical thing, because if you don't have the glass panels on time, you don't build the big buildings. So everything has to run smoothly. Digitization offers a way to do things more efficiently. Now, obviously, we weren't using digital means 30 years ago. The volumes might have been similar. Maybe the requirements were lower. Maybe the environment was different. Maybe the threats were a lot different. So today, if you're not digitizing your operations, you are not keeping up to standards, you are not following the trends, and you're not being efficient. And sometimes you may not even be being effective. Let's start with the simplest one, access. What we have started, and all of the ports have started with, was a simple ID. A simple ID, meaning that in order to access the port, you needed to show your ID, you needed to show that you had something issued from the port authority, and you were allowed to walk into the port. Then we switched on to digital means, meaning that this card was digitized. And what is the difference of a digitized card? Essentially, it becomes a live card that it doesn't matter if you have it or not. What matters is the information that is already in the system. So that means I can block anybody at any given time for any reason with a press of a button. This is also something that's been done for years. So what's even better than this? You can start implementing rule-based access control. What this means is that I can have a series of rules that apply to various groups in my for my people that need to enter the port, be it contractors or employees, that essentially state that if you have not been pre-approved to work in these specific hours, then there is no reason for you to enter this facility. A security guard can do this with a certain level of certainty. They can think, why is this person here? Why are they delivering at this time? A digital system can do it with a much higher level of certainty and consistency. You're relying on your security guard, for example, for them to implement what they know, whereas a security system will always implement the maximum of its capabilities. So one way is to define rules that may be dynamic rules, like if something is occurring right now, if this vessel is in the port, then the agents of the vessel are allowed to enter. If not, then they're not allowed. If these are the hours between 8 and 5 where contractors and suppliers are allowed to come in the port, then the system will unlock the access, and the user can walk in the terminal and they can have free access. So this is an even better system that is being implemented in Cyprus ports also. What I'm showing to you now is practices that Cyprus ports are already implementing. Obviously, there are better means, or rather say different means, applied abroad, like face control, digital face control, and identification. Analytics. Analytics are also important in order to see your various strengths and focus where you need to focus. Now, obviously, you can generate a report like this. This is a joint, by the way, this is a joint report for a full year of incidents of various kinds, including security incidents. You can generate a report from an Excel file, but this is not generated from an Excel file. This is generated dynamically, live, from the data that we already have in our system, through reports that are being fed into the system at any given time. So that this means that we do not have to waste time to build a dashboard like this and keep it up to date. Is it automatically updated? This specifically is from the Port of Limassol. It's a unified platform that unfortunately I cannot show you because I think for obvious reasons. This is a platform that we had built when I was working for in the Port of Limassol, and all of the information is reaching this platform through the mobile phones of the supervisors, the security, the health and safety supervisors that are working in the terminal. As soon as they submit a report of any type, then this chart is automatically updated, and you have a live report. So gone are the days where we ask the health and safety report to the health and safety and security manager to prepare a report to show to the management. This is not required anymore. At the same time, you can, with the same data, you can paint a different picture. Now, obviously, you can't say a lot because I have blurred the most important part. But what is this picture showing, this chart showing, is the incidence rate the frequency rate of specific incidents for specific people. So every line that you see on this chart is a person. So the easiest thing to understand, and I think it stands out, what are these big lines? What are these lines that extend way more than every other line? This means that this person has been involved in incidents a lot more than other people. So this is a very clear indication that we need to analyze and focus on these people, why they are breaching the regulations, why they are not following the security rules, and why we are having these statistics with these specific people. So not only the type of incident, but also we can break down on the person involved. And again, this is a live chart generated dynamically from the data of the system that is being submitted live from the supervisors. We used to have security using face control. What this meant was you had a person on the door, on the gate, and he knew the people, right? There was 100 people coming in, and he knew the life story of every person. And this minimized the risk. In what way? Your security guard was doing a face control. He could see who is walking in, why they're there. They knew that their job is during the day and not the weekend, is during X hours of the day and not at the nighttime. They knew their problems, and they knew whether to grant them access or require more information. Now, if you're talking about thousands of people, this is not efficient anymore. It's not even effective. So there is a number of ways to digitally provide more information to your staff in order to reach better informed decisions. These are 4 systems that were implemented in the port of Limassol. So the vehicle monitoring, using certified contractors, work permit systems, and the purpose of visit. So let me break this down. It's not very complicated, obviously. I think most of you can already understand where we're going with this. Vehicle monitoring, the basis of the vehicle monitoring was to check every single vehicle that tried to get access to the port, why it was there, and whether it was a legal vehicle. You can do this with pen and paper. You can ask for the insurance policy. You can ask for the MOT. You can ask for the license or the road license from the Department of Road Transport. Imagine doing this 2,000 times a day, every time a car is driving in your facility. It's not practicable. So what was implemented is an ANPR system. It's essentially a camera that reads the license plate of the car. It automatically communicates to the Department of Road Transport. It receives information about the vehicle on the gate, and it provides back information on whether any of a set of specific licensing is not valid. These are the specifics that are being checked, essentially the insurance policy, the MOT, and whether the vehicle has been licensed for this specific type of transport. All of this is done in a matter of under 2 seconds. So essentially, the decision-making of the security guard, it becomes very simple. They get a red or a green. Green means all of the data has been checked and they are clear for entry in terms of the vehicle itself. And red means one of this is incorrect, and they have to leave, fix whatever is wrong, and then come back again when they are compliant. Funny story, we actually, and I'm not even joking about this, this is an actual scenario that happened. We managed to pick up in 2 cases Mossad agents that were trying to check the security level of a port. And I know it sounds a little bit like far-fetched, like I'm overselling it. It was not. Out of the controls that we had on the gate, we realized within minutes that what we had in front of us were Mossad agents, and the only reason they were there was to do a little bit of penetration testing for our security protocols. This happened years ago. We'd never received feedback, obviously, but from the fact that they never even reached up to the point to actually talking to the security manager I think was enough to show them that you can't just walk in here anymore. These are the systems. We understand who you are and what you're doing here. And thank you very much. You can leave now. This was part of the systems that allowed us to catch this test. Another is using certified contractors. If you have a list of contractors within a port, they may be servicing a number of needs. You might have supplies, food, water, government authorities. You might have maintenance contractors for the technical department, the facilities department. You can have for the HR, the operations. Everybody wants to bring a contractor in. The list of contractors for a small port might be 70, 80 contractors, so which is not a small number when the person actually at the gate checking the contractors is none of these departments that has called the contractor in. They have no idea who this person is. So the easiest way, you implement a list of pre-certified contractors. This means that if somebody can prove that they are a certified contractor with your company, they get through the first stage of the security control. It means that I can accept you today, even if you already have a security card, a valid security card. If you're not an approved contractor, then you just simply cannot enter the port. This is a good practice, but how do you approve all of these contractors? What is the criteria, and how do you monitor all these lists? So again, because this is a big volume of information, because many times you might be requesting data. I think you can still see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
So you might be requesting data that is different for every contractor. You can create a list of all of the certificates you require for each one of your contractors and keep this list up to date. And if anything expires, then you can go back to the contractor and ask them to supply the new information and keep this list up to date. What I'm showing you now is a system. The reason I can show it is because this is a different
I know
system.
we can still see your presentation. We don't see another screen.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
that's
let me do it. Oh, you're right. Let me switch. Share the screen is better, I think. Right. So
yes,
this is
now we can see it.
Right. This, what you can see in front of you is the a digital management system for contractor certificates that essentially can store all of the certificates and can inform the user which certificates are about to expire. And then at the check of a security gate, if any of these are expired, then the contractor cannot enter your facilities and perform any works. This is a small number of certificates. When we are talking about a port, because the specific one is not for a port, if we're not talking about a port, you might be managing 200-300 certificates. Definitely not a small volume to manage on top of everything else that you're doing. So digitization in this case is very important. Let's see. Okay. Work permits. Even if you have a pre-certified contractor, you don't want them there every single day. If they are providing supplies for a specific department, then you don't need them there every single day. What you want them is to be there when there is a specific task. This is the purpose of the work permits. Now, work permits classically are targeted for safety in order to coordinate everybody in terms of the safety measures that need to be implemented for all departments to be aware. But you can also use it for security. And this is exactly what we had done at the port. Essentially, we had integrated the health and safety management work permit system with the security. So what happened was that the technical department could request a work permit in order to bring in 3, 4, 5 contractors. Each department received their own notification with the information they needed and requested. And the security department would receive only the piece of information that was related to them, specifically who is going to be showing up at the day or at the gate, on which day, and for how long. The way we had implemented this was a very simple way. A work permit can be up to 5, 6 pages long. You don't want a security guard reading 5, 6 pages of information. So essentially, we extracted only the part that was related to security, and we generated task cards for the securities for each day. So the only thing the security had to do was check on the digital task card whether there is an appointment for this contractor within this specific time frame. If the contractor came even a day later or a day earlier, they would not receive access to the site, even though they might have had a valid security card. This is something that helped the decision making of the guards to reach faster decisions and reach more educated decisions. And the entire system was done digitally. There was no single piece of paper that was exchanged in this entire process. And purpose of visit. The purpose of visit is similar in the sense that we are discussing pre-approved people, but not for contractors, for people that may come as visitors. Essentially, the system we had implemented was a visitor form that departments could submit electronically. The security department would approve them. And again, they would automatically generate task cards for the security guards for the specific day. So even though the total information for the week might have been 500 task cards, for the specific day, we had a very small number for the specific time frame. Even the security guard could focus only on what was happening on their own shift and not for everything that was happening for the rest of the days. And these four measures were the main measures that allowed us to stop. I'm not going to say a high number, but I'm going to say 100% of people that should not have been entering the port, even without implementing the digital security card system. So the compliance was so high only with these systems that the security card essentially started becoming a secondary measure. It was the second step. If you could pass any of these steps, then the security card would make sense for you. Otherwise, it doesn't matter that you have a security card. So my presentation was extremely brief. These are the measures. Well, obviously, I'm not presenting all of the security measures for the Port of Limassol. This would not be a good idea. I'm presenting some that were implemented. And what I really want to focus on is how quickly and the cost of all of these systems. I'll give you a very, very quick example. The automatic vehicle monitoring system was implemented with less than 15,000 euros cost in under 6 months. All of the other systems you have seen, certified contractors, work permit, purpose of visit, it was built, all of it was built in an internal system. It was developed internally throughout the year with a cost of around 40 euros a month, actual final cost of digital services that were subscribed to. So it's doable as long as you have the people that have the vision, the planning, and the know-how on how to implement digital systems. That's it in general. I want to add one more thing that I don't have in the presentation, because some of you may be considering this sounds like a lot of GDPR information that you are keeping, and you're right. It was a huge amount of GDPR information, but of GDPR sensitive information. But the fact that we were handling them digitally allowed us to specify a very easy way to automatically remove any redundant or expired information and comply with GDPR 100% seamlessly. So this means that because it was a digital system, there was no pen and paper, there were no notes, there were no copies. Everything was done automatically, and GDPR compliance was reached without pressing a single button in the end.
Perfect. Thank you, Petros, for sharing your experience. And I do have one question, which is more or less the same that I asked Elisa. And you also have, but let's answer Eleni Stoli's question. She's asking about the cost to implement this in the port of Limassol, or in the port of Piraeus, or in the port of Valencia or Barcelona. Is it more or less the same complexity? And or would the cost be, 10 times higher, 100 times higher?
I'm not sure that the size alone is the definitive factor. It depends on which technology you're talking about. So, for example, the connection with the Department of Road Transport was not as expensive as you think. Building the API was under 5,000 euros. The cameras were 2,000 euros back then, and I'm sure you can get cameras for half the cost. The software for building all of this was under 6,000 euros. So I would say if you wanted to expand this specific system with the ANPR cameras to a port with 10 controlled access gates, the only additional cost would be the cost of the cameras and obviously the computers. So we are talking about double the cost of the 15 grand, and you're talking about a
much bigger expansion.
A much bigger port, exactly, with twice the budget. So essentially, it's even cheaper.
Okay, and my question, and then we'll move to Elo's presentation from Spain, who will share his experiences from the ports of Barcelona, especially. How hard, talking about the human aspect and the training of the personnel to accept this digitalization, all the way from the security to the driver to the director, what was the biggest obstacle that you have faced? Or the biggest surprise? Let's not only go to the negative part, maybe what surprised you positively in this whole journey?
I would say both. You know what? I will say both. The biggest obstacle was not so much with the employees, but more so with the visitors of the port that had to go through this big change, that had to follow a specific procedure. This was a very big challenge because when you're talking about people that are driving truck drivers, for example, they were the most difficult ones in a sense. There was a lot of pushback.
Okay.
But the positive was that even though we had implemented a lot of digital systems in a very short amount of time, and our security personnel, most of it was not digitally adept. Actually, a lot of them couldn't turn on a computer when they started. I was surprised that in a span of 6 months, they could operate most of the systems a lot better than I did. They were actually showing me things that I was not aware of. We went through the trainings, but they had become so adept, even though some of them, they could hardly turn on a PC at the beginning. So this was very surprising.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Petro. We'll take more questions at the end after Elo's presentation if there are more questions.